When your cell phone rings, do you recoil in fear and shock? It could be because most people don't make phone calls these days. In fact, the new etiquette is to text before as a bit of a heads up. Oh, and don't even think about leaving a voicemail. That practice is so out.
I don't think I can accurately depict, or not depict, but like accurately convey how much I hate phone calls.
Social media is full of people making fun of others who make phone calls. A practice that had been the norm for decades has been hung up on. For some reason, there seems to be a phone phobia, with many people freezing once their cell phone starts to vibrate. And even if they have to call someone, they don't let it ring out. As it turns out, there are new phone etiquette rules. First, always text before calling. If you do call, don't leave a voicemail. Another apparent rule, you're not obligated to answer someone else's call. And lastly, the general rule is voice your emotions and text the facts. In other words, only call if you really need to convey nuance or emotion.
Check this, right? Hey Ali, are you free? How quick was that? When you call, you go like, how you doing? How's life? It takes so long to get to the point. I'm so busy all the time. Just text me, bro.
The TikToker also says, worst case scenario, you can audio message. Also part of the etiquette, don't take a call on speakerphone in public. Somehow, that still has to be stated, but probably because too many people still share their conversations as they walk around. I will really never get over how people talk on speakerphone like that. Okay, so do you agree that calls are out and texts are in? 63.4% of you say yes, you do. 36.6% of you say no, you don't. Let's bring back Matt and Sabrina. Sabrina, we're going to start with you on this one, and you're the millennial here, so you tell us what's cool. And are we doing this all wrong? Phone calls or no phone calls?
I don't know if I have any insight on what's cool, but I do, for the most part, agree with the new phone etiquette. But I also think it depends on who you're talking to. Like, my dad is the only one that leaves me voicemails, and I don't even listen to them. Like, sorry to my dad, because I know he's watching the show. But I'll just see a missed call, and I know to call him back, like, when I can. But I would say that I'm definitely a fan of responding when you can, like not responding right away. We kind of live in this urgent culture, especially, having these computers in our hands now. So I'm a fan of, putting my phone on Do Not Disturb every night after a certain time. But I'm a reporter too. And so when it comes to work, I do confess that I try to spring my calls on unsuspecting ministers sometimes. And so that's when I mostly pick up the phone.
All right, Matt, you're a big phone guy.
Yeah, I'm going to be the old person here. Shame on you for not picking up the phone. Your dad is calling. Pick up the phone. Okay, number one thing that annoys me, I text someone, they text me back, I then call them right away, and they don't pick up. I know you're looking at your phone. I know you're holding your phone. Why aren't you picking up your phone? I'm a monster. I still leave voicemail messages. And let me tell you one thing I do with my coworkers. I will tell my producers, who are much younger than me, every fifth voicemail message I leave you, I will leave one digit of my ATM code on that voicemail message. If you listen to all my voicemail messages within the span of a month or so, you can get access to all the wealth that I possess that someone who works in sports radio makes. That's what I do to my producers, and you know what? They still don't listen to my message. Like, I don't want that money.
You know what? Forget about the reboots of shows. I think we just need to follow Matt around and his producers, because it's like an episode of 24. Like, you're dropping them little clues here and there.
Oh, yeah.
And if they follow all the path and everything, I mean, is there a treasure map that you have as well, Matt? What is happening?
I'm testing them to see if they would actually listen to voicemail messages. And the fact is, they would rather between two options. Option one, get access to my bank account. Option two, never listen to my voicemail. They all take option two. I'm so old. I feel I've aged myself for the last 2.5 minutes.
I can't believe this at all.
It's true.
Sabrina, since I'm kind of lost in the discussion, let's go ahead and take a look at some of these rules and etiquette, which, by the way, was part of an article from the Washington Post. And they talked to an etiquette expert about this. And so always text before calling. Do not leave a voicemail, or leave part of your account PIN so that you can get all of Matt Caus's wealth. And then you're not obliged to answer the phone and voice your emotions, text the facts. That last one I think is interesting because my kids will voice text each other or their friends, and especially if they say, "Well, I'm tired of texting and I don't want to whatever," or they Snapchat them and that type of thing. I just find it so interesting that in a world where we could be closer and more interconnected, it almost seems like there are these barriers that we're putting up by making sure that we're not speaking on the phone.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And that's just, an effect of having these phones all the time. I mean, it's also, I think, being connected all the time. Sometimes you just want to shut off. But I agree. Sometimes I've got a lot to say and it's like too much to text, so I'll pick up the phone and talk. And then when I do that, I can talk for hours. But I think, that last point is also right. Like, it's really hard to read tone on text. So when I'm telling my boyfriend, to pick up like coffee, we're running out of coffee or something, like, I mean, I'm trying to say it in a nice way. He might read it as another way. So I think certainly at some point you got to pick up the phone, especially when you want to have a meaningful conversation.
Yeah, and Matt, it's interesting. When you were talking about that exchange, when you're texting with somebody and then you call them and then they don't answer, what is their response? Because I hate that.
Yeah.
It happens, with my kids. It happens, and again, they sometimes love it when I talk about them. Right now, probably not. But I will call them when I can't get a hold of my daughter, and I'm asking if she can check the pantry for something I need at the grocery store, and the answer is like, what? Well, hi, I'm your father. What's the big deal? I just want to have a conversation with you about it. So what do they answer when they've answered the text but not the phone?
Yeah, they get sheepish. I catch people all the time with that. They're basically like, what are you going to do? And then I get angry, and then I yell at them because they haven't seen The Usual Suspects, or they haven't seen like a lot of classic movies. By the way, movies from the 90s, is it really classic? Oh my God, I'm old. I will agree with one. When that you should never text when it is like an argument or when it is emotion. And listen, I will text all the time when it's the basics. Hey, what are you up to? Where do you want to meet? Things like that, meat and potatoes. But yes, when it's real conversations, you should never have an argument via text. And also, I find it ironic in an era of social media, it seems like we're getting less and less social.
Yeah, and Sabrina, it's interesting, in that article as well with the Washington Post, they talked about video chatting and making sure that you don't just FaceTime or video call somebody out of the blue. That, I think, is mind-blowing to me. I don't know who is doing that, and I find even just the video call, holding the phone out as you're doing things, or even sitting on the couch, I don't know. Is that something that a lot more people are doing?
No, that's like a total violation. Like, who knows? Like, have I even brushed my hair? I don't want to be on camera. Like, but I also, again, think it depends on who you're talking with, right? Like, if it's someone who's very close to you, a family member, they should be able to FaceTime you or video call you, at any moment. But no, I mean, for me, if it's someone that you're more of an acquaintance, don't be FaceTiming me out of the blue, please.
Yeah.